No, man, but you got to keep going. What am I going to do, quit? That's not an option. You got to keep on keeping on. Life's a garden, dig it? You make it work for you. You never give up, man. That's my philosophy.
Hey gardeners, I hope you're all having a great week in your gardens. I'm out here today just checking out our pumpkin. We've got one of the Big Max pumpkins here. It's growing great, putting on some good size right now. And if we go right down this way, we've got our secondary pumpkin here too as well. Not trying to grow big giants this year, but it's great to have some cool, fun, big pumpkins again this season in our garden. Again, hope you're all having a great week. All right, let's get growing. All right, everybody. All my passionate plant people and garden enthusiasts. It's Saturday and time for Let's Get Growing, your weekly gardening live cast right here on the Urban Gardener channel. I'm Enoch. I'm your host today. We've got a really, really great show for you all today. Here just a little bit later in the show, our featured guest today is returning to the show, Nate Muri from Garden Like a Viking. Awesome. Love to talk to Nate every time we get a chance to talk here. It's such an awesome conversation. So definitely stay tuned later on in the show for that conversation, as well as here in just a few minutes too, we will be talking with Alicia DeVore from Create My Garden. She's got all sorts of great things growing on her channel and her Instagram and all of that. So we'll check in with her and see about all those sort of things going on at Create My Garden. So excellent. Again, thanks everybody for joining with me here this weekend. I know we took our Labor Day weekend off last week. That was kind of a last minute thing that kind of happened. So I apologize, everybody, but here we are. We're back at it. We've got a whole bunch of really great shows all lined up coming up for you as we start roaring towards the fall season here coming up. I mean, it's going to be the first day of fall here just real soon. I mean, how fast has that been this year? I'm telling you, most seasons, I don't know. It always seems like they go by a little fast, but this year seems a little faster than most, for sure. So yeah, again, so we got lots and lots of things growing on, lots of things that are coming out of the garden. We're harvesting tons of stuff, peppers, tomatoes, eggplants, okras, all sorts of stuff are coming out. In fact, I got one of my first watermelons, I think is probably going to be able to come out real soon too. Nice. They're just small, like sugar babies, but looks really great coming up here. And as y'all saw too, we got our pumpkin that's growing. It's really looking nice. I haven't grown pumpkin for a couple of seasons now, so I thought it'd be really fun to get back and do that too. As you know, it's always fun to kind of grow those and for that space anyways, we try to grow some bigger types just to kind of see what we can grow and all of that. And before, I've grown like a big, like 137 pound, like dill Atlantic one year. And this year, probably not going to get that big, but we got a nice Big Max out there too. I've been wanting to try that pumpkin for a while because this is one of those varieties that I kept seeing over and over again every year when I would go visit the National Heirloom Exposition. So this last year, and because this is an heirloom exposition and they put out all of their fruits and veggies and all that sort of stuff for display in this big exhibition hall, and you get to see all of these just live fruits and veggies right on these tables displayed out and everything to show you exactly what they look like, exactly what the textures are, and all of that too. It's just one of the really wonderful features of that exposition. But every year I see these Big Macs on the table and I've been wanting to grow them. So last year I made sure, because it's an heirloom exposition, if you get your hands on any of those seeds of any of those things on those tables, those you can take home and grow because they're heirlooms, so you know what you'll get. So that's what I did last year. I grabbed up some of the Big Mac seeds off of one of the Big Maxes, and mind you, this is at the end of the exposition. They literally put everything that's out on display, kind of up for a last minute sale kind of thing. So, and they're really cheap. So they're just kind of trying to get rid of everything, and people buy up these tables of stuff and everything so that they can take them home and, for one, eat them and enjoy them, but also, collect some of those seeds and everything as well too. So it's really fun. It's actually probably one of the more fun things about the whole exposition is the end of the exposition. I mean, people are going crazy through these tables, picking and grabbing. In fact, people start pointing out that people who have experience start figuring out, the day before, which one am I going to get? And then they make their plans so that they can get in there and grab them up and get the ones that they want to. So it's always fun to watch just hundreds of people just rolling around everywhere. I did a time lapse for one of those a couple of years back, but I think I might have to try that again just to kind of show you guys what what it's like when it's time. In fact, I know during the last live stream, actually last year, I did just a quick little live stream too as well of that kind of last minute thing. I wasn't able to do the live streams I wanted to last year, and probably again, we'll see. I'm going to try to do that sort of stuff here as I talk about what we're going to be doing with that here in just a minute. But yeah, it's something to see when you get to see all of that, grabbing up that sort of stuff. I always try to grab myself up a couple of the really nice, delicious looking watermelons and some of the orange flesh ones and all that, because I really love those. And so I'll grab up a couple of those to take back home with me as well too. In fact, I'm trying to grow one of the watermelons that I got last year from the seed as well too. The plant's looking okay. And I've got one little fruit. I just don't know if it's actually going to make it to, if it got, if the fruit developed in time to be able to make it to the end of the season and be able to, be viable in all of that. But we'll see. We'll check it out when it comes time and all of that too. But yeah, so that's really what we got to talk about next too, is for next Saturday. So we were off last Saturday. We are going to be off this next Saturday too, because I've got to make my trip. This is my yearly pilgrimage, and now it's all the way down in Ventura in Southern California. So I will be taking off right after our Sunday show tomorrow, and I'll be heading on down to California, in Southern California, for this year's National Heirloom Exposition. And again, as I said, what I'm going to try to do, and this is, you can kind of, maybe one of the reasons why this is a good idea, and I'll just mention this everything right now too to everybody as we're at the top of the show as well too. Give us a big thumbs up. Click that like button, hit the subscribe button, as well as the notification bell there. So if you hit that notification bell there too, it might let you know of some of these sort of maybe impromptu, just kind of last minute live streams. I'll try to get on there and show some different things throughout the exposition and all of that as well too. And then what we're going to do is we're not going to be on next Saturday. So what we're going to do is I'm going to do a kind of a whole special show. So we're going to do a special show because of the timing and all that sort of stuff. I'm just not going to be able to get back in time to be able to do our live show on Saturday. So that's kind of the reason why. And also maybe give me a little bit of time to put up some of the videos and things that I'm going to need to do for what will be our National Heirloom Exposition special. We are going to move that. So our Saturday show will just move to an evening Wednesday show on September 18th at 5 p.m. Pacific and 8 p.m. Eastern time. So this is going to be a special show for us. And what I'll be doing when I'm down there is I'm going to collect some little interviews and talk with different people and do some different things, maybe create a couple of little highlight videos and all that sort of stuff. And so on our special that we'll have on September 18th, we'll play back all of that sort of stuff and kind of get a chance to review and check out all the fun things that we got to do at this year's National Heirloom Exposition. I'm really, really excited about this. I love this event every single year. And again, too, I've been going so many times. It's just like getting together with old friends and everything too. So there's going to be all sorts of just some really good fun to be had down there. And also, I just want to make sure and let everybody know too. So we are not doing the Saturday show, but we will be doing our Sunday edition of the show. So I will be back and we'll be all set to do our Sunday edition of the show, because this will be the third Sunday of the month, and the third Sunday of the month is our monthly book club, and we'll be talking with Marta McDowell. She wrote the book All the President's Gardens. I mean, this book is just amazing. I'm telling you, I've been reading this, been enjoying this book so much. It's just got, and for me though, really is that I'm a history buff. I love history. It was probably one of my best subjects back in school and all of that too. So I love history, and to get a chance to really dig into this. I mean, she takes us all the way back to like literally as the first thoughts of the White House are being thought of by George Washington and his ideas, and learning about George Washington. I mean, this guy was literally, if George Washington was alive today, he'd probably be someone like myself, someone who's just such a garden nerd, loves gardening, all of that sort of stuff, collected gardening books, always had big lists of new plants and new things for his garden and all of that sort of stuff. And one of the things too I thought was really fun is that they would have like, seed catalogs in a sense, in a way, they weren't as nice and as great as the ones that we've got today, but this is something like he would be that guy who's literally waiting by the mailbox during this time of year coming up here in November and December, as we're all waiting for those new seed catalogs and these new varieties and learning about all these new things to grow in the garden and all of that. That has probably been one of the more fascinating things, was just to kind of learn just a little bit more about George Washington and how much of a garden nerd he was for his time, especially too. So great book. It's going to be a great conversation. So you'll want to join with us next Sunday too for that, as we talk with Marta McDowell all about that wonderful book. So yeah, we've got lots and lots of things growing on. Another thing too, I will let you all know is that after that, we're going to, and I've kind of been working on, and I think I've got everybody booked for a nice special weekend on beekeeping. So we're going to kind of pull away from the garden a little bit. I mean, we're talking about gardens a little bit. I mean, bees have a lot to do with the garden, but we're going to talk a lot about beekeeping with some really amazing beekeepers and all of that sort of stuff on the Saturday and Sunday following that week as well too. So that's going to be great stuff to look forward to. You guys want to keep tuned in here at the Urban Gardener channel for sure, so you can catch up with all of that sort of stuff as well too. And again too, I just, top of the show, I'm kind of missing some of my beats here a little bit, but I do want to make sure I'm giving a big huge shout out to all of you who are watching our replay right now. Thank you so much for joining with us here on the replay, and definitely get down into the comment section there and let me know what you got going on, what's growing on in your garden, any suggestions or anything like that. Definitely. And if you all are here joining with us on the show live, we've got some great guests we got coming up here. So definitely drop in some questions. We love to hear all of your questions and all of that as well to ask our guests as they come up as well too. So definitely jump in with some of your questions, and we just might feature them on the show. So I already see we got lots and lots of people here already so far joining in on the chat. Let's jump in here and see who we got joining with us today. And of course, we do want to start off by giving a huge shout out to Jay Dixon, our facilitator here for our live stream. Thank you, Jay, for joining with us here from Midwestern Ontario, Canada. Thank you so much for all you do for our channel and dropping in all those links and everything too. I saw earlier we had Florida man Jack jumping in nice and early before the show. Great to have you here. And then, of course, Rob's Allotment Gardening joining us from the UK. Good to see you, Rob. And then, of course, all the way joining us from the future in Australia, we've got our good friend Rick joining with us as well too. So great to see you, Rick. Thank you for joining with us here. Let's see who else we got today. Wickershire. Nice to see you. It's great to have you back here. Great to see you here on the show. Thanks for joining in with us. And let's see here. No, we've seen. Going to go through here. We got Joss joining with us too from Southern Ontario, Canada. Again, thank you so much for being here with on our live stream here. All right. And another of our moderators, Adam Burley. Thanks, Adam, for jumping in, helping us out here with the show. Great to have you here joining with us. And let's see, just kind of get through here. Adam says everyone needs a break from time to time. even those like us that are always busy doing something. Yeah, that's right. Even my breaks, I'm not. Even my breaks, I'm a little bit busy as well too. So definitely. Let's see here. We got Kim Williams joining with us from Tunisia. Awesome, man. This is really great. Good to see you. Thank you so much for joining with us here. That is awesome. Okay. All right. And we've got Darth X, I see in there as well, too, joining with us. Let's see. And he says what he's got a 30 degrees Celsius day for me, too. Nice. All right. And let's try to make sure I get through everybody here. And we got Cause joining with us here. First time here from the Viking channel. Awesome. Thank you, all you Vikings, for definitely jumping in and coming in over here and giving us some great support. I just really dig Nate a lot. And one of the great things too is that his show is right before our show. So to have him on and on the show and get him on every time we can is really awesome too. And I just love it when all of you Vikings show up here and give him such big support as well too. We also got Norma as well too, joining with us here from Manitoba. Awesome. Lots of Canadians in the house today. Some good Canadian representation. Thank you so much, everybody. Let's see here. Worcestershire Project says, I always take 1 month off in the summer and 1 month off late winter. Avoiding the noise of the electronic world gives me peace of mind to gather and focus without interruption. Gives me time to reflect. I love to take a break, and I need to take a break. Last week's break was great, but in long run, sort of what we're saying there is that I just gotta have like something to do all the time, even when I'm taking breaks. It's so my breaks aren't really even breaks sometimes, but it's just it was great to kind of pull back a little bit, do a little bit more things that I've got to get done on some other stuff, as well as take care of some things that kind of popped up last minute as well too. So just kind of worked out. It was Labor Day, so we could all kind of just kind of take some time and take it easy. Definitely. And look at Masabi, hello from northern Minnesota, USA. Awesome. Excellent. Let's see here. So let's see. I'm gonna catch up here. We're gonna go ahead a little bit. We're running here. I'm not sure what we're having going on, but I am going to go ahead and hit our first break for right now real quick, and then we'll be right back. I'll talk a little bit more with you. Hopefully we'll have our first guest with us as well too. So be right back here in just 1 moment. Let's Get Growing is sponsored by IV Organic.
Hi, my name is Charles Malky, biologist and plant expert with IV Organics, where we grow cool plants and author Saving the World with the Home Garden. IV Organic 3-in-1 Plant Guard has 7 natural oils that protect your plants, not just from the summer heat as well as winter cold, but also protects your plants from damaging insects and rodents. The oils in the product include castor, cinnamon, clove, garlic, peppermint, rosemary, and spearmint. These oils are natural insect and rodent repellent oils, which are encapsulated by the base powder, offering your plants months of protection at a time. 1 application per year will suffice for protection against damaging summer sunburn and winter sun scald, but if the target is pests, application as much as 2 to 3 times a year may be necessary.
Hi everyone, this is Sarah from Sarah's Seed Shop, here with another trivia question. Which of the following features indicates that a fruit or veggie is high in vitamins and nutrients? A. Soft texture. B. Vibrant color. C. Sour taste. Or D. Strong aroma. We'll be back with the answer a little later in the show.
So, all right. Y'all know the answer to Sarah's trivia question. Definitely jump into the comments there and let us know what you think the answer is. And we'll get to that again, like I said, in just a little bit later in the show. In our next break, we'll get to know what that answer is. Usually right now we would have our first guest on. I'm not sure. Maybe Alicia's having a little bit of issues or something technologically. We'll give her a few more minutes here and see if that she can come on the show or not. And sometimes that happens again, we technical difficulties possibly. So we'll look forward to that here in just a minute. Let's just go ahead and keep the conversation going on with everybody here. Definitely jump into the comments too, if you've got any comments, questions, or anything like that as well too. And definitely, let's see here. Oh, I see we've got Big Will Dog joining with us as well too. Join with us here. Excellent. Great to see you, Will. And then, we've got from South Africa. Wow, that's awesome. Great. We've got some great representation all over the world today. Thank you for joining with us, Pam. So great to see you here on the show. It's great. So great. And then Brian, thanks for joining with us here. Thanks for coming over. Love to see all of you Vikings joining up here and coming and hanging out with us. You guys are always really, really awesome about coming in and showing some support for Nate. And definitely be sure, as I said just a little bit ago, to definitely give it a subscribe to our channel too as well, and come check out some of all of these awesome guests that we've got. We try to feature weekly guests and new guests every single week on our show. We are both a Saturday and Sunday show, as we were talking about just a little bit earlier. We do have our Sunday edition of the show as well too, that tomorrow will actually be, and I'll just kind of talk about this actually a little bit too. Tomorrow's our second Sunday of the show of the month, and on the second Sunday of the month, we have joined with us every second Sunday of the month, Master Gardener Scott Wilson from the Gardener Scott channel, and he is just such a wealth of great knowledge, such a wonderful gardener. His channel is just really awesome and amazing. He's one of my go-to gardeners for anything I might know. So I had to ask him, like, hey, can you join us once a month and give us some really great garden knowledge and do a Q&A with all of us? And he was just so happy to do it and everything. So every second Sunday of the month, which will be this Sunday tomorrow, that we'll get together with Gardener Scott and answer all of your gardening questions. So that's going to be really great and fun. I hope that y'all come and join with us as well too for that. And so, I mean, if you have gardening questions, like real gardening questions, we'll try to answer some of those, especially when we get Nate on later on, because Nate as well, he's just an amazing amount of knowledge when it comes to garden. I love talking about gardening. And again, I've got a lot of plenty experience and all of that too. But when it comes down to it, I love listening and talking to people who've got even more knowledge and got all of this just so much to share about what they grow and what they do. And we're just really lucky this weekend to have featured today Nate, and then tomorrow have Gardener Scott on as well too. So if you need to know anything about what's going on in your garden, this definitely was the weekend for sure to be joining the show. Right on. It looks like we've got Big West Lawn Care joining with us as well too. How you doing? Great to have you here with us. And Dave Vahala. Excellent. That's great. Awesome. Let's see here. Oh, Kim Williams asked this is a question. Tips on growing raspberries in containers. Well, my tip really is to make sure you got good sized containers. These are ones that you want to, you could, get plenty of space for these roots, and raspberries aren't really roots necessarily more than See, and again, this is where I wish I had my gardening knowledge. I'd be able to come up with like these things right off the bat. But anyways, they kind of grow along and they set new plants and pop them up all over. Like, I don't think rhizome is the right word, but anyways, so you want plenty of room to kind of allow them to move around so that they can produce and pop up some new canes for you, because most raspberries are, they grow in a kind of a 2-year kind of cycle. So canes that grow new growth that year, if I've got this right, will produce the flowers and the berries, and then you let those grow, and then you kind of cut back your second years and then grow in more. And believe me, I've got a video on it, and if I could remember a while back ago, because it was several years ago. In fact, I don't have raspberries anymore. I should get some more, is what I really need to do, is get some more. I planted my first raspberries because this was when I was first getting started gardening years and years ago. I was like, I love raspberries. I got to have raspberries, and not thinking about it, how they grow and what they do in their growing in their growing habit. And I put them right in the middle of my in-ground space on the side garden I have in the back. And man, was that a mistake. That was a big time mistake, because what happened was, they grew fine that year, and then the next year had them popping up over here and over there, and I was like, okay, well, they're way over, and that's when I kind of thought, maybe I need to look into this a little bit more and think about what I'm doing here. And then that's when I learned that they can be really invasive to an in-ground garden, and really kind of take it over. And these raspberries were already on a path towards taking over my garden, and so I went on, and that was now my goal. Is I went and got a big old tub. I went and basically bought a big old tub, drilled some holes on the bottom of it, and dug those things out the best I could, moved them over into that container, and got them out of the ground. Now, here's the big thing too, is I may have gotten them over in the container, and they did grow really well over about a 3 or 4 year period. And then 1 year I just had a bad year. I let some things go, and it just kind of really, it did those in for me. So I haven't been able to grow them since, but getting them out of the ground into the container. Now, if you got big space, you've got plenty of space somewhere in ground, just fine. But for us small space gardeners, when we're limited in space, putting them in the ground is just not the great idea. And actually doing them in a nice big container would be the way to go. And it took me still another 2 seasons to completely eradicate those from that in-ground space. I mean, each year I go in and pull them as best as I can, follow them along the best I can, and I rip them all out. And then the next year, a few more popped out, and then luckily I ripped those ones out, and then I didn't see them anymore in that space. But that's, that was a big lesson to learn. So my actually, really the big tip for growing raspberries I could really give is actually do them in containers if you've got a small space. And that's something I've got to actually do some more of too myself, because I love raspberries, and they would be really great to add back into our garden. And Dave says, speaking of berries too, they could be propagated from cuttings as well too. Yeah, exactly. Let's see here. Big Will Dog says, my single raspberry plant has finally this year 3, has finally escaped its area. I haven't really done much other than pruning for max fruits. Yeah, if you're trying to contain them, whatever, we do the best, but eventually they will get out. I mean, they can get down and under and all of that, and really get around like you can't believe, so I was really surprised, that it took 3, it was 3 seasons altogether to really eradicate them from my garden. And then again too, like I said, the containers were really great. Again, it was just completely the reason why I still don't have them today is because it was just completely my own fault and my own issue of not taking care of my garden space the way it needed to be in a really off year and some things that were going on. And I just said, you know what? Let's just let it go. We'll bring some raspberries back again at some other time. So that, that's kind of the, when it went to that. So again, it's, sometimes some things work out really well. And then sometimes we just get right in the way of it. and our poor plants can suffer over that as well too. So let's see here. So again, too, I think as everybody can kind of tell, it doesn't seem to be that maybe there might have been some issue. I'll have to catch up with our first guest a little bit later. Maybe we'll invite her back on the show for some other time because I don't see her here and I haven't gotten a message yet back. So that's kind of unfortunately how it goes on a live show like this. If things don't line up quite right, that's just the way it goes. But plenty of great time here to be able to kind of catch up with all of you guys and talk with you guys just a little bit about what you've got growing on too. Let's see here. Big West Lawn Care says, I planted the berries in September last year before winter, hoping for some solid rooting. It was touch and go for a while, but they came back and gave all new growth. Oh, is this for the raspberries? Yeah. Installed June berry and raspberry. Previous message. We got to get the first one first. I made a 5x5 raised bed last year, installed June bearing raspberries. This year it's taking over, but no berries yet. Oh, and again, too, maybe they have two different canes, and one of them, I know you got to get your first year's growth, and then on your second year, this would be so in June, installed in June. So, okay, that's where you're saying that. I planted the berries in September last year before winter, hoping for some solid rooting. So, yeah. So, again, that would pretty much, I would think maybe you're still in that first year. So, I would probably be looking for, maybe some growth off of some of those canes that have grown from this year. You'll get new growth off of those in your second year. And that should be where you should start seeing some fruits, hopefully. Hopefully that's the case for what you're seeing there, other than maybe some other sort of issues or something, because that's kind of, they just work that way. Again, I'm not thinking of exactly what they call it, or called that type of growth. And let's see here. Wicker Shot Project says, every berry plant we ever planted has died here. The birds fly and blackberry seeds everywhere, so those take over and grow in abundance. Yeah, that's kind of the same thing for us here in the Northwest as well too. Tons and tons of blackberries. I don't have to worry about growing blackberries at all. He says, my theory is get bird feeders and fill them with garden seeds. That's a good way to do it. Absolutely. And that works for a lot of stuff. I mean, I grow sunflowers, and I try to grow different ones, and get them to grow because I have a certain space I want to grow them in. But then the birds will come in at the end of the year and they'll get to some of those flowers and eat up some of those seeds. And then they'll start spreading them all around. I'll get sunflowers trying to grow right out of the front yard. I'll get them growing out of the middle of the alleyway. Some trying and growing out of some of the containers, out of the back patio, and all of that is the birds are just probably just spreading them all around my garden space everywhere. But that's not where I want them to be or where I intend them to be. So in the long run, most of those are just weeds in the long run that we've got to pull out and get out and everything. But I grow and then I'll transplant some if they're looking good and not to the spaces that we have. But I like to grow those. I love to grow the big head sunflowers. We've got a few out there, but I think maybe again too, I might have mixed up some of my seeds because I've got a few different types of sunflowers out there for the one variety I actually planted. So I thought I had one variety when I started them up and planted them out in all of our little pots at the earlier in the season, and then now as I'm seeing all the flowers popping out and they're looking great. They're looking wonderful out there. In fact, if you saw the very beginning of the show, I started off with a little bee that was buzzing in there, and all of that as well too. So, yep, I better get that as well too. All right. Okay. Anyways, I've got to do something here real quick, and I'm going to get back with you guys all here in just one moment as we look forward to getting to talk to Nate Muri joining with us here in just a few minutes too as well. So I'll be right back with you in just a minute. We'll get that answer to Sarah's question. Hey gardeners, thanks for tuning in to our show today. We'll be right back at it here in just a moment. I just wanted to take a second here to highlight our regular videos and features here on the Urban Gardener channel. Our weekly garden journals, and our incredible feature visits.
The answer to this week's trivia question is B. Nutritionists often encourage us to eat the rainbow, meaning to eat a wide variety of brightly colored produce. This is because each bright color represents a specific phytonutrient found highly concentrated in each fruit and veggie. And while phytonutrients are not essential to our survival, they can help us to feel better and to live healthier, happier lives. Thanks for watching. Head over to Sarah's Seed Shop where you can find garden seeds at unbeatable prices. Enjoy the rest of the show and have a great day.
All right. Here we are back at it here. All right. And real quick too, we're talking about raspberries there before, and I was wondering, and Rick says biannual. Yeah, they're a biannual. I think there was another word I was also thinking of as well too. We'll ask Nate maybe here in just a little bit for sure. We'll kind of get back into this just a little bit, maybe get some real good information too about it as well. Let's see here. Got Regina joining with us here. Says, I planted Primacane blackberries last fall, doing great in zone 4B, 5A. Yeah. Again, too, blackberries are just such for our area, such a, so they're everywhere. They're aligning all the roads everywhere. They're just all over the place. So I love to get out actually here. What I'll be doing probably when I get back from the Heirloom Exposition here this next week is try to get out in one of the days and go out and forage and harvest some of these blackberries that grow wild, we got some really great spots that I've gone to already that are just kind of right outside of town as we head out into the country a little bit, and just tons and tons of them, tons of blackberries growing here too. All right, let's see. We've got to make sure we're catching up with everybody here. Pam says, I love Cape gooseberries. And a kind of bird must have some seeds now have a huge bush. Yeah, definitely. Again, the birds will give us some pretty good gifts sometimes. You never know what they're going to be dropping into your garden. That's for sure. Another one though too that I'll say that birds really loved and got all over my garden as well too was tomatillos one year, and those seeds get everywhere too as well. They had them all over the place, and I'm telling you, for a couple of years I had those things just growing like they were wild all over the place. All right. C&J says, we do not have many bears, but blackberry season is a time to harvest, but be very aware of your surroundings. Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, they're going to love those just as much as you do too. And you never know, they could be hiding up inside of those big things or whatever, maybe even catching a nap or something. You never know what you can find out there, especially out here in the country where I go and pick up my blackberries as well too. Awesome. Okay, let's see here. All right. So, again, as I said, we've got a really great show here. We've got joining with us our good friend Nate Muri from Garden Like a Viking. He's and looking forward to talking with him here in just a few minutes. All sorts of stuff to catch up with him about as well. Let's see here. Oh, we've got joining with us Venice Weeks saying a cheery hello from Townsville, North Queensland, Australia. Awesome. Another Australian here joining with us. That's so great to have you all here joining with us. As I like to say, joining us from the future, because they're like a whole nother day ahead of us here, joining us from Australia, and nice and early too. So I do really appreciate you getting here nice and early and everything, and getting on and joining with us here on the live stream, and especially all of you Vikings too, joining in to support Nate. So great to have all of you as well jumping in here to catch this really great conversation. And again too, if you do have any questions or comments or anything like that too, definitely drop in those questions as we're talking with Nate here too. We'll try to get those featured. We've got a great conversation look forward to, so definitely drop in some questions and all of that, and we will talk about that here coming up. And so let's do this. Let's get to talking to our featured guest today.
You never know when you might learn something, and that's what this is about for me. These are people that I admire. Please welcome my next guest.
All right, everybody. Welcome to the show. Our good friend Nate Muri from Garden Like a Viking.
What's up, my friends?
Hey, so good to have you, Nate. Thanks for joining with us.
Yep, glad to be back. Can you hear me all right? Everything's good?
Sounds great.
Can everyone hear me?
Good.
All right.
Excellent.
Sounds good. Now, based upon your recommendation, I'm using this platform now, StreamYard.
I know. I saw that earlier when I was catching up with the show. Figuring it all out, but it's great, isn't it? With all them fun features and things that you can do now with what you're doing on your show.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, it's going to open up a lot more doors to do a lot more for sure. Yeah.
It just gives us the opportunity to, for one, just be maybe a little more creative, but also, as one of the things you were mentioning too, is that the thing I love is being able to show some of these video clips and do certain things and get a chance to, take people right into the garden as you're talking about things.
Right. Yeah. And it's going to help me to emphasize what I'm talking about. So when I'm talking about, the tomatoes do this and that, or, this plant that I was talking about earlier, this volunteer sort of clematis that is almost invasive, but beautiful. I want to show people pictures of that. So I like the platform. What it enables you to do is going to be fun.
Yeah. We do it, have it make it fun, and be able to put this show together and all that sort of stuff is really kind of creative. But I'm really looking forward to the sort of things that you come up with in using this platform and all of that too. As I mentioned to everybody, it's just one of the fun things I get to do is I'm getting ready for my show. And getting things started up. I'm, doing all the show prep and getting things together, but I've got Nate right over here and Garden Like a Viking going, and I get to listen to your live stream and everything. So I think it's really awesome that we're kind of like this almost, you got yours going and then I got mine right afterwards. Everything lined up perfectly when it came to that, for sure.
Definitely. Yep, definitely. Hey, I just want to give a shout out to everybody.
Yes,
Kim,
go for it.
Kim Williams, definitely from Tunisia. Hello, my friend. Jay Dixon, yes. Dav, Venice Weeks, yes. Big Will Dog is in here. Leland, of course. Pam, always faithful, yes. Rick. All right, good to see a lot of you guys here. I know Big West was in the house earlier, so I
Yeah.
appreciate that, guys, supporting, because what we're doing here, what the Urban Gardener is doing here with this podcast is worthy of support. He's trying to bring together the community, and really, this is the only podcast of its kind. I mean, there isn't any other one that I'm aware of that has taken YouTubers in the gardening community and having these kind of conversations. So let us give it all the support we can.
I really, really appreciate that, Nate. And again, too, you've really been, since the beginning of my show and doing stuff, just always been really supportive. Anytime I call on you, you're like, boom, let's do it.
Absolutely.
So I love it, because, that is really a kind of thing. You look right at the top of the screen right there. We're growing community through gardening. And there's just so many wonderful people out there. And it was one of the things that I was really fortunate about. Was to get to meet some really great gardeners who are putting out great content, some authors, some people who do radio shows and things like that.
Right.
So it was really kind of my point when I was really digging into my channel seriously, was this is what we want to do. We want to grow this community and be kind of a representative, almost an ambassador of the community in a way, by being able to introduce people to other people they might not know. Maybe there's some great gardeners that are out there putting some content on that are maybe more helpful to you because they're from your area or something like that.
Right. Yeah. That definitely. Yeah. That's very important.
And so, just connecting people with other gardeners and growing the gardening community is just because it's just a wonderful community. There's so many awesome people doing awesome things. And again, you're one of them. I love exactly what you're doing. I love the community you have. And again, too, just one of the things is you see, you're coming right on the show and talking right to the Viking tribe right there too. It's just it's really one of the more unique gardening communities, side communities of the gardening is at the Garden Like a Viking channel and all of that as well too. So
yeah,
you guys
definitely
are all really, really awesome.
Yeah, they really are. I mean, I don't know of any other community that I would want, for sure. I mean, everybody is right there. When I ask for things and ask for advice or opinions or, certain things, or to come over to this podcast, boom, done. Everyone's real supportive. So, yeah, especially that's refreshing, because the gardening community, or well, not the gardening, but the YouTube and internet community can be full of stuff that is not so positive, but this is like super positive. And so that's what we're all about. I just wanted to give a shout out FLH Pete. Yes, that's my mom and stepdad. They are viewing right now. So what's up, Brian Airy? Yes, I love giving shout outs to everybody, because it's like we're in a room full of friends, So guys, let us know if there is something that we don't normally talk about, maybe on my live stream, if you want to talk about it now, or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's see.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, drop in questions. If you got any questions about anything, I've got a few here. We'll get talking. We'll get the conversation rolling, but I'll try to drop in any sort of questions I might see along the way. And so definitely, like I said, here's a bunch of great people already. More and more chopping in here every minute. And this is the thing I love about StreamYard too, is just being able to pop everybody up and be able to show all of that.
I know, that's so nice, being able to just tap on it. Boom. Kessia's Kitchen, Karen Carson, aka Wes. We all know who that is. Yes, definitely. Thank you for being here, my friend.
Yeah, definitely. So Nate, lots and lots growing on this year. We had you on a little bit earlier this season and everything, before everything was really getting growing. And I just saw we'll get to this actually in just a minute, because I just saw one of your most recent videos, and we'll kind of dig really into that a lot. I want to kind of talk a little bit about what that's going, because I kind of have some things here too to kind of interject with that. But what's been going on mostly in the garden? How things, really, this year since we talked to you last? Anything to catch up on, maybe?
Well, the garden did really wonderful and has done really wonderful. So one thing I want to clarify with the last video that I made, the last couple videos, the garden is nowhere even close to being a failure of any kind. You know what I mean? So
I never do that.
It's not like, because the Viking way is not to just, I guess we'll just try again next year. No. We're still harvesting boatloads of produce. We're still eating from the garden literally every day. I mean, every dinner that we had, because we pretty much intermittent fast, so we only eat dinner, but we eat a big dinner. And so it's got like a meat, and then it's got tons of stuff from the garden. So we've been pulling from that garden all summer long. And we're going to continue. We're going to continue to eat from the garden, like Donald Hughes there in the comments. I know that he has had a really good experience with the squash this year, with the patty pan squash. So being able to just go out to your backyard and eat stuff like that is what it is all about. Yes, but in the pursuit of I don't want to call it perfection, because that's an ideal, like a fleeting ideal, but in the pursuit of nonstop improvement, then Jay Dixon, garden failures are a chance to learn. Exactly. In the pursuit of nonstop improvement, we are, there's things that, okay, 5 years ago when I moved into this place, coming back from the mountains, I had $0 to invest. So it was like, okay, I got to grow my food because that's in my being. That's what there's no other option. So we're going to take this backyard, turn the whole thing into food producing setup, and we're going to do it as cheaply as possible, as close to $0 as possible, because that was my budget, zero. And so I was like, hey, I got these skills. We can do JDOM. It's basically free. JDOM is the cheapest of all techniques. And so we started growing food, and we just hodgepodged it. We didn't have money for like raised beds or for drip systems or for anything like that. We just went to my mom's house, got some logs, got some leaf mold out of the soil or out of the woods behind her house, and we just made it happen. And so we've been growing food for 4 or 5 years in this location now, but now it's time to facelift, to revamp the garden, because you distill your system, and so now is going to come the time where we are going to, okay, we have a little money to invest, no problem. Now the objective is not let's grow food as cheaply as possible. It's now let's grow the highest quality food that can be grown anywhere. And so for that, I know you feel me there. And so for that, we are going to rearrange, invest a bit of money, yes, but that's not a problem, because the goal now is to grow the highest quality, most nutrient dense food that can be had. And so for that, that's what the system is going to be implemented now.
That's great. Yeah. And again, too, also, for me, I'm a little more small space. I love it when I get to pull as much from my garden and all of that as I can, and all of that. So we try to grow as much as we can. We're trying to do some things and change some things up. So we're always kind of changing and moving and doing certain things in a situation like that. But when you got like a good space like you got to really kind of think about things on that line, right?
Yes, definitely. And I see that a lot when I do garden consultations. I do one-on-one video consultations, and some in person, but mostly through the internet, of course. And I see that a lack of utilizing every square inch of their space. There's a lot of wasted space in most people's gardens, a lot of unproductive real estate. So you have to look at your garden like it is like a monopoly board. Okay, here is my real estate, and here's that one real expensive avenue. That's your full sun spot right with the good soil. And then you've got your less expensive avenues with that maybe get a little bit of shade or something. So you got to maximize that real estate. You got to say, okay, what can I grow? What requires this fine real estate, and then you got to grow that there. And for me, it's potatoes, because that's the main staple calorie crop. We're eating potatoes constantly. And so we give that the park place, or whatever that the expensive place in the monopoly analogy is.
So I've kind of done the same thing I've got very limited in-ground space. So I've got this one really good spot. In fact, I was talking about it a little bit earlier when we were talking about raspberries, that spot there that I have. And it's pretty much now my potato place, where I'm doing and growing my potatoes, growing those sort of things. And we got really good crops this year too, really. And this was kind of like one of my first times really just because I'll try new potatoes each season. I'll try this one, try that one, do different things to see how well they grow.
What's your favorite?
Now, last year, I finally got a good yellow potato I really liked.
What's it called?
Again, names completely.
You're just trying to hide it so they're not sold out.
I know. Well, no, I'm not exactly. I heard you were talking about this earlier. I was going to say too, is you don't have to mention if you don't want to, because I was really liking the idea of those ones you were talking about. If they're as good as you say they are,
those Austrian crescents, man. Wow.
Yeah. And then I've got this other really good red variety. So I've got these two varieties I really like, but I saved the ones from this last season and I put them in the garden for this season, and man, it just really worked out really well. I was just able to really just maximize the value of the crops I'm growing because, again, it didn't cost me anything to get potato seed this year. I grew it myself last year. You know what I mean?
Yes,
and it's just
definitely.
so great, to be able to just kind of find that formulation now, like you're saying, and again, also the real estate you need for those kind of really good mainstay crops.
Definitely, and in that example, in that situation, the a really good benefit as well is that by planting the potatoes that you have already, those are the ones that store all winter long. So you're passing on those genetics. So that's what you want. So a lot of people, they don't want to grow 10 different kinds of potatoes, and that's perfectly fine. But you settle on a yellow, a red, and a white, or something like that.
Right.
And so that's a good way to do it. So plant the ones from the previous, because if they couldn't store relatively all winter, you wouldn't be able to plant them again. So that's a good traits.
And that was and again too, it's one of the things I've always been like, and they grow and you get them and you put them in places, and I've tried storing them before, and I've just never found that really right way to do it. And we got it all perfect this last year, and we didn't have big old stretchy long, as they try reaching for the sun and all of that, so they were just perfect this year. So hopefully, again, that's going to be the same situation for this next year's. We just keep those varieties rolling and rolling, and making sure, because that's one of the things that we're doing too early on in gardening, and we're learning about things and introducing new varieties and new things into our garden, though, is to find things that work for us, that become mainstays, that have become really a big part of what we're growing for our food, that we're going to be relying on for certain parts of the year. So you want to find those sort of things. You want to be able to get the ones that really work the best for you and taste really great, and grow those year out and year out.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And how many? And I was a little bit concerned this year about genetic drift. I mean, I know that I know what that is, and it does happen for certain plants. But I was concerned that we've been saving the purple bumblebee tomato year after year, and so after like 5-6 years of saving the same seeds, but we grew a bunch of different kinds of tomatoes all up in the mix. And so I was wondering if the tomato genetics sort of drift a little bit like that. Because I saw Big West says tomatoes are my #1 food crop, and so I ordered fresh purple bumblebee seeds this year from Baker Creek, and I've tried them, and sure enough, there's no difference. There's no difference, except that in the later season, because mine are really stressed right now. They're stressed hardcore. My tomatoes are stressed because they haven't received water in 8 weeks. And so, but what that's made them do is get really incredibly sweet. I mean, they are super delicious.
Yeah. In fact, I think Adam, he's probably got mine right here. I think these are probably the two I'm actually growing right here, is the Yukon Gold and the Red Norland. I know Red Norland's the right, but I think Yukon Gold might be the right one for.
You can't go wrong with those. Those are two of the best of the best. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, for sure. Let's see here. I want to make sure.
Yeah, someone said, so Meyer Lemon says, Nate, I found some organic Austrian Crescent seed potatoes, got on the list to order for next year. See, as soon as I get off of here, I'm going to go on there and get on the list, because
you got to do it now.
I can't keep promoting it with.
You opened your mouth on that one. I was going to say, because someone already mentioned them earlier, and I was like, oh, should I pop it on there or not?
I know. Yeah, I need to make sure. But like I said during my live stream, we're going to go over to the Viking North Garden tonight, and we are going to test the French fingerling, the banana fingerling, and the Adirondack blue. Or it might be the purple Viking, or it might be both. So we're going to test those. I think I'll make a short, maybe a YouTube short out of it or something like that. But so we don't know. I mean, but as far up until now, my favorite of all was the German Butterball. That was the potato by which all other potatoes are judged. But now the Austrian Crescent is right up there with it.
Yeah, I might have to try that German one too.
Now the thing about both of those, the German Butterball and the Austrian Crescent, is they take a long time. They take 120 days. So you can literally get 2 runs of the Yukon Golds in the time it would take you to get 1 run of the of those two, varieties. But it's worth it. It's worth it because they're so dense. They're twice as dense as the Yukon Golds.
Yeah, and that's for both of those varieties?
Yes, they're both very, very dense and just delicious. Yeah.
Let's see here. Marlon was asking, what's the tastiest red potato variety to everyone?
Yeah, what is the tastiest red potato variety?
I really like those red Norlands. So, and I've had,
I actually stopped growing red potatoes, just because they're real light and fluffy. They make good if you're into like that kind of butter boiled potatoes or potato salad, something like that. But I like the real dense, heavy ones that store for a real long time. And so I had not experienced a really good keeping red potato type.
Yeah.
Maybe there is, but I haven't found it. So I'm just not as into them.
So you mentioned you do consultations, one-on-one consultations, and Dave was asking here, hey, Nate, I'll definitely be hitting you up for a consultation. Just wondering what information would be beneficial to gather for a concise and efficient consultation. I want to be prepared.
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you for, I didn't even see that one. That is, so Dav, the thing is, some people, when we do consultations, some people just have like 20 questions in a list that they never get answered, during the live streams because there's so many questions and stuff. So they'll just ask me like 20 different questions and get in-depth answers to everything. So the main thing is have your questions ready. Have all your questions written out and ready. And if it's questions about, what you should grow, if you want to get a plan for next year about, okay, what should I grow and where, then I need a layout of the garden as far as where is the sun, where are the trees, what sun exposure do you get, you have to think about all that. What is south facing? And so that's going to be really important. So have that information, and then also have the information. If you want to find out what to grow, then have the information. What do you prefer? Because I run into this all the time, and I see people that are growing what I call rabbit food, like 8 different kinds of lettuces. And it's like, oh, okay, great. But so how much are you eating out of the garden? They're like, well, we had a salad last week and yada, yada. And I'm like, man, I'm eating from this garden every single day. It's all during the summer, starting in the early spring all the way to the late fall. We're eating from the garden every day, literally. And so you got to plant what you're going to eat. Don't be planting something that you're just going to watch and let the rabbits eat it, So those are all my suggestions. But the primary thing is have your list of questions ready, because everyone is like, oh man, there were so many things I wanted to ask you, but I forget. Don't rely on your memory. Yeah.
Yeah.
Teats Treats. That's right. He says, here by way of the Viking, I did a consultation, really worth the cash. Definitely. Yes.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful to make a personal connection with the people, like Teats Treats now. Like every time I see him, I know him now. There's a face, there's a personality, so many of these people are screen names, and it's in its own right is wonderful, but I love to make that personal connection, and so like Alberto, I had a wonderful consultation with him last week. And so now I know these people, and Teats Treats sent me this carnivorous plant. He lives in San Francisco. He sent me this carnivorous plant, Cape Sundew plant. So
Sundew, yeah,
it produces like this little dew kind of stuff, and it attracts little gnats and stuff, and it just eats them up.
And then I kind of curl up on them or something.
Yep, like that one that's all curled and gonna die. That probably got because the leaf dies after it feeds.
Yeah. I've been meaning to get to a place that there's a place, Serencia Northwest, that has a bunch of those types of carnivorous plants, and I'd love to go do a video with those guys and check those out. Those are fun plants.
Yeah.
Real quick question though about that Austrian crescent fingerlings. Do they store well?
That's to be determined, because this is my first year. So the Austrian crescents now, one of the selling factors was to me, because one of the guys whose opinion I respect, I know he knows what he's talking about, said you want to get your hands on some Austrian crescent potatoes, because here he's like in the East Coast or West Coast, I forget. He said here all of the real gourmet restaurants want this potato. The places charging $150 a plate and stuff like that. They want this potato for the experience. And I was like, okay, well then I need to get it, of course. And when I was looking it up, it says the Austrian crescent is the best storing of all of the fingerling type potatoes. So we'll see. Although we only have one bed of the Austrian crescents right now, so there's no way that they're going to last all winter. They're not even going to last. I mean, they're going to be gone fast.
Yeah,
because we're eating them.
If they're that good, then they should be, right?
Yeah, definitely. Well, for sure. When I get a potato like that, I'm going to share it with my family. Definitely. I'm going to take it. We're going to have like a dinner with my mom, my brother, and stuff like that. And so everyone can experience it. You know, that's what I love.
All right, all right. Let's see here. We had some questions a little bit earlier, and again, too, I love having you folks on who know way more than I do about a lot of stuff. I did want to kind of check in with you though about a question. Let's see. Kim dropped in earlier. Tips on growing raspberries in containers. You got much experience with raspberries?
Now, raspberries are one of the things I do not have enough experience to speak with authority on. So no.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of. I myself, as I was mentioning to everybody too, I did raspberries. This was one of those things I did when I first started my garden, was like, oh, raspberries. I love raspberries. So someone had some on sale. I brought them to my garden, stuck them right in the ground. And it was probably one of the bigger mistakes I made in my early gardening experience, was because raspberries can be really invasive.
Right.
And they just spread, and it's through the root, and I can't remember what it's called when the root spreads out and then forms new plants underneath, and then they pop up. But they pop up canes, and I know that they're a biennial, so that, you know, the first cane grows, it's the second year's cane that you're going to get, or it's the first year that'll grow a fruit in the second year. And so it'll grow a new cane for that, and then that one will be. See, again, too, I'm confused.
Right.
Is it that? But it works in one of those ways.
Yes, I think they only fruit on second year canes. That's what I think.
Maybe that's what it is. You need
the
the first year, and maybe that's kind of what I was explaining earlier too. So the first year you get those, and then it's the second year canes you'll get fruit on.
Right.
And
But
then
see,
you're looking for the new firsts that you cut those ones out, and then it's those new firsts that come in that year that'll put in the new canes for next year. If I'm right. I think that's what it is.
Right. Well, the question to me is why? Because raspberries are one of the things that everywhere I've been, like in the ranch in Northern California where I lived, at the Viking North Garden here, there's raspberries. They're just wild. They just grow. A bunch of them just grow. So no one's pruning these. And so I don't know. I guess if you have very limited space, or maybe it produces bigger, better raspberries if you prune them all and keep them really super tidy. I don't know. But raspberries are always just kind of gone wild.
Yeah, for most part. Yeah. And I think, they're just kind of growing in, they're new, and then they die back a bit, similar to what our, blackberries are doing as well, too. They'll die all back and then kind of come back up, but it's bringing in their new canes and their new things that keep it going for the next year. Right. And again, too, I'd have to really dig into it just a little bit more to be able to explain it myself through the experience I had, which was a few years ago. My problem is again, they were invasive, and I had to move them to containers in order to grow them. And so my recommendation for people, especially with smaller spaces or spaces you need to be using for other things, is to get a nice big old tub container or something, and you can grow them in those. And I grew them pretty successfully for about 3 or 4 years before I killed them off, doing some things my own fault, what I mean? But yeah, really great. They do work in containers. Just you want to be careful putting them in your garden space. It took me nearly 3 years to get them eradicated from that space. Because even if you cut them off, there's going to be it'll start it all over again and do again too. So, yeah, you got to really dig through and find those runners and pull them and do everything. And unlike strawberry runners where you see them up above ground, you can't see these runners because they're underground.
Right. Yeah. More like mint.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
I wanted to address a question real quick that I saw.
Absolutely.
Whoops.
Trying to keep some questions highlighted here too.
Well, I just touched it and it brought up this stuff. I don't know if. Oh well. Karen. So what type of soil and feeding for the walking onions, or do they just kick butt in most soils? They're not very particular. So the walking onions that I've been sending out to people, they're not super particular. They will grow bigger and thicker and more flavorful shallot type bulbs and stuff if you give them a nice rich compost type soil. Yes, but they will also just grow on straight up clay. So they're very, very hardy.
Yeah, I found that with a few different things. I grew, in fact, sweet potatoes. I did an experiment one year. I took some of my good soil and put them in one, Big old, and mind we're growing them in big old containers, probably about, I would say, 30, 40 gallons or so. And nice and deep. But I put some of my own good soil that I had in one, and then I took some just right straight from one of our spots in the alleyway. Just took that, just, almost dead dirt, almost, if you would say, in a way. And I put it in one of them, and it was literally the alleyway stuff that grew better.
Definitely. Yeah.
It was, I was like, all right. You never
Sweet
know.
potatoes are one of those things that definitely, and I proved that, I proved that to myself. I already kind of knew that, but I found last year, because I've developed the Viking granular nutrients that I sell to people sometimes. I just like mix it up in my garage, and then when there's extra, I sell the buckets. But it's really potent, and so I added it and then planted the sweet potatoes, and I wanted to push it a little bit to see, okay, how much do the sweet potatoes really need this or want this? And so they grew luscious vines with leaves the size of dinner plates on them, super dark, luscious green. The vines were 30 feet long. But the potatoes, I had hundreds of pencil-thin potatoes at the end of the season because it was too rich. As opposed to years where I've grown in basically peat moss or, very inert soil and had wonderful harvests, big old thick tubers.
Right. And in a sense, because with all that rich soil, I mean, we're probably just growing those nice plants up above.
Exactly. Yeah. The foliage.
And that's, I always love, I used to grow my potatoes and do this like large container experiment each year with my potatoes. And some years, they're just growing like this big old beautiful bushes and these beautiful plants. We're watching them all season. And then when you go and tip that sucker over at the end of the season and see what you got in there, and they're just these little things.
Yeah.
Like, oh, what?
Like small potatoes. Yeah.
Little small, tiny potatoes.
Yeah.
And then some of the ones that I get too, you don't see very much and they're not growing very well. So you're concerned. You're like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to get out of these things. And then it's those ones I end up finding these big old fat potatoes in, so.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
And so that's definitely part of that, I suppose, is that, with a more rich soil like that, then you're really just kind of, you're giving a bunch of nitrogen and you're giving a bunch of stuff that's just really promoting that leaf growth and the top growth more so than the tuber itself, which is just trying to really pull things in to store up that moisture and all of that.
Yeah. I've definitely found that true with sweet potatoes. But potatoes, in my experience, at least, is the opposite. They want a very rich soil. They want that rich soil. And certain potatoes, like the German butterball, is a true indeterminate potato. And most people are under a misconception about the indeterminate versus determinate potatoes. But when they describe indeterminate potatoes, they're only talking about the above ground portion, the growth habit of the vine. So most people think that if you plant an indeterminate potato and keep hilling it up, that you'll just keep getting more and more and more and more potatoes. That one potato will produce 100 pounds if you have it in a big tub, a big barrel. I've done this year after year, and it's not true. All potatoes produce basically at the same level that they're planted, a little bit above, a little bit
and
below.
That's why, and here's the purpose, and this is the one thing I do know, and I did my research and on this, is that hilling your potatoes is a decent idea. It's a decent idea because, and we're not trying to grow more potatoes. What we're trying to do is just kind of protect those potatoes.
Keep that light away. That's all. That's
all. Light away. You're trying to protect them because, like what you're saying, is that they grow almost right at almost soil level. And if you get some good fat potatoes and you're growing some really decent potatoes, they're going to start popping up.
Yep.
They're going to start exposing themselves to the sun, and then they're going to start turning green. And that sort of thing, and you don't want to do that. So, I always recommend hilling your potatoes for sure, but don't hill them under the idea that you're going to be getting more potatoes.
Exactly.
Or there's this sort of thing. And it's another one of those ones where you see there's products out there that just really annoy me. Every time I see them, they annoy me. But they sell people like these, like fabric pots that'll have a little pull away.
Yeah.
A little pull away on the side.
Just rolling potatoes out of there. Yeah,
I'll just pull some potatoes out and maybe
and destroy the whole plant, rip up the roots and stuff.
Once you do
But every time you see that, every time you see the advertisements for that, it's always they open it up and just pull out these big fat clean potatoes. Obviously they stuck them in there, with some sickly little plant up top or some plant that's like this long. It's so deceptive. I mean, the gardening it's like any other market. It's full of all kinds of deceptive stuff.
Yeah, definitely. And it's
But
it's just the crazy. There's so many weird things like that we got to
yeah.
really, you know,
Well,
one of
and
the good thing about hearing and these sort of things and we get to talk about this stuff is also people get to also hear about it and understand it a little bit more, that those are things that you just shouldn't be wasting your money on.
definitely. One thing I did want to finish saying about the potatoes, though, is that the indeterminate versus determinate. So the
Yeah.
determinate ones are going to grow more of a bush habit. And so the indeterminate ones, like the Austrian crescent and the German butterball, they're going to grow one long, scraggly vine. They look real scraggly and sick. They're just not
yeah.
that. So the indeterminate just keep growing longer and longer vines. I mean, I've got some vines that are like 6 feet long, you know, and
Yeah.
7 feet long. They just kind of go along the ground and wrap along the ground.
Yeah.
Now, if you bury
Indeterminate,
that,
you know.
it's not giving you more potatoes. But
Yeah.
the Yukon Golds are an indeterminate a determinate, and so they grow like a nice tidy bush pattern.
Yeah. Yep.
And so they're a lot easier to manage. They look prettier in a garden.
Yeah, they do. They make nice. Our potato rows look so nice this year. It was really awesome. And again, like you're saying, the nightshades, you know, the indeterminate tomatoes, they'll keep growing, and indeterminate keeps growing, and it's going to keep producing from those flowers. But potatoes don't produce from their flowers,
Right.
and so that's really the only thing about an indeterminate potato, as you're talking about, is it's just creating more flowers, more vine, and all of that sort of stuff as well. You know, that where you're not harvesting from, it's the potatoes down inside and all of that, which makes sense. And again, too, one of those other ones too, and I had a friend who did some videos where he literally built the box where you would just build onto it, and build onto it,
Square boxes.
Yeah. And he, you know, those videos to me was early on was just proof. Yeah, that stuff just doesn't work. That's not the way it works.
Yeah. Why? Because how did the video turn out?
He just, again, too, it was just all the
box
way down
full
at
of
the
soil.
bottom. Yeah, it was a box full of soil with just a little bit of potatoes right down at the bottom.
That's right, exactly. And they're like, I don't understand why it didn't work like the video, because those videos are fake. They've planted, there's tons of fake gardening videos, and I can point them out totally now. I've even made a private playlist on my channel, fake videos, you know, that I bookmark them. And those potato tower ones, the ones where they're just crushing it, are fake. They've planted those in there, guys, because they want views. And you'll see 2.5 million views on these videos. This guy, there's financial incentive
who
for that.
believe it, and then they're out there, you know, following along on, you know, these garden groups and these places, and they're giving people this advice about this stuff because they saw that video. You know,
exactly. And they got $47 worth of bagged soil in their potato tower, and they're only going to get 5 pounds of potatoes.
Yep. And again, too, before I just want to mention this too, as I'm talking about this, because this is something I'm going to be doing some discussion on, and maybe a video on here coming up as well, because it's now my opinion, and I'm going to be pushing this as well too, is that people stop getting their gardening advice from Facebook groups and other places like this as well. Stop it. Don't
Facebook
listen
groups
to
are the worst.
anybody. I'm going to be talking about this in kind of a more form of stuff, because I'm involved with many groups. I'm involved with the community. I love it. I love it for sharing. I love it for getting an opportunity to look at people's gardens from other places and how things are working out for them, and maybe getting just some anecdotal, you know, discussions and talking about gardening and that sort of stuff. But when we're talking about learning something and you need to know something about what's going on in your garden, stop asking those questions from people in Facebook groups or in other types of social media groups out there, because it's just a plethora of misinformation.
Big time. And just wives' tales and just people. I see it constantly on the Facebook groups. That's why I don't even look at them anymore. But
I had to quit. I mean, I spent a couple of years trying to be like, oh man, I just want to get in there and let new gardeners know this is wrong.
Right.
And it just becomes too, it's not worth it. And in the long run, you know, like blossom end rot stuff or eggshells, and you know what I mean. Let's just all of that stuff just gets passed along out there, and it's terrible. It's terrible. So I'm trying. So let's get back real quick, because there's 2 questions that came in a row that were asking the same thing. Kim asked, when do you know when to harvest your sweet potato? And then also look at Nature Homestead said, what signals that it's time to harvest the sweet potatoes?
Yes, and so that's a great question and one that I get all the time. And the answer to that is that the sweet potato, you have to understand its growth habit. So the sweet potato is not like a winter squash or like a tomato or like a cucumber, where it has a time where it's perfectly harvestable. Like the tomato, it's unripe, and then it goes into a stage of ripeness where if you harvest it in that time, it's going to be delicious. But if you wait and let it go past that stage, then it's going to be, rotten. It's going to fall off the vine. So there's a harvest window for those kind of crops. There's a tiny little harvest window for cucumbers, and melons and even watermelons and stuff like that. They have a harvest window. Sweet potatoes, on the other hand, are one of the plants that don't really have that. So they're like Irish potatoes, is what I'm calling, actual potatoes. Because remember, sweet potatoes are in the morning glory family. They're not hardly related at all to Irish potatoes. And so the sweet potato is a storehouse of the solar energy, and so it will just keep growing and growing and growing. So if you wait too long, there isn't necessarily a downside. Now, that's within reason. If you live in the right area, then okay, it can go too long. Like Kim Williams is in Tunisia, so I don't know if they even have a frost. But the good thing is to let them sweet potatoes grow as long as possible. And then just before frost is when you want to harvest them. So here in northern Indiana, zone 5/6, we're going to be harvesting them in about 2 more weeks, give or take, because the vines will just keep growing. The whole plant will just keep growing. And so now if you wait too long, if you're Kim Williams or someplace where it's not going to frost, then the potato can become tough and fibrous. But still, if you cure it properly, it will be nice and sweet. So there isn't a tiny little window. So don't worry. It's much better to wait too long on a sweet potato than not long enough.
Yeah. And all of that, don't forget what's growing up on top too. That's all edible as well.
Yeah.
Sweet potato
Sauteed
leaves,
greens.
all that sort of stuff. Really good stuff as well too. So it's kind of one of those double crops that you can get from those. You got to love that as well.
That's right.
Rick was mentioning too, and this is something also, about, again, we're talking about layers of those other, going back to potatoes, indeterminates, or that sort of whatever they are. He's saying you plant in every layer. I wouldn't go too many layers.
Mm-hmm. 2.
But in my containers, that's what I've done is that, I'll start low, get that first one going. And then as soon as I'm ready to go, I'll start putting some more in on there, or put about 6 inches, set some new ones in there, put another 6 inches on top of it. That other plant will grow through it from the bottom. And then you'll start a whole nother layer right there on the top too. So yeah, another layer, maybe 2, like you said.
Yep.
That sort of thing you could do depending on how deep or whatever you can go for if you're a container or, in ground, it really doesn't make much sense. But if the container type of thing, or you're building something up or something like that, like we were talking about before, that would be your way to go. And also maximize that space a little bit too, because that's how I do my containers is I layer those. Great idea, Rick.
Yeah, definitely. And you can do that because they only grow on one layer, on one level. So yes. And if they were growing all along the stem, then you couldn't do that. But it's very good. If you're growing in containers, you can plant in layers, definitely. My most viewed video ever, my first one to reach over 1 million, was the how to do the potatoes in the trash bags, in the contractor bags. And so and I found that because of traveling throughout the world in other parts of the country where they don't just go to Lowe's or Home Depot and buy $250 worth of materials. They just make do with what they got. And so they have trash bags or grocery sacks even, and they just fill them with the native soil and plant stuff into them. And that's where I learned they plant their potatoes in 2 layers. They plant the ones down low and then medium, up a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see here. Venice, I like this one. This was great. How cool would it be if you both could do a visit to Australia and have a live podcast and we can meet you both? Man, wouldn't that be a trip, Nate? Go to Australia. Cool. I'd love to go to Australia sometime. We got great viewers as well. Rick, who shows up every week for us too, from Australia and all that too. It's just really, and also, and I wanted to also pop that up to mention too, is that we actually have already set a date to go ahead and have another live stream with you, Nate, and I'll just kind of talk about this with everybody with one of my favorite gardeners, and I hope that you really enjoy the conversation too, as well, too, because we got him locked in. I believe this is going to be what, November 4th? Is it November 3rd or 4th?
You better tell me the exact date because I'm not missing that.
Yeah. I believe I got that. I think I was going to mention it, but I believe we've got it all set up because Mark Valencia from the channel Self-Sufficient Me, one of the great
OG.
gardeners of the world, OG,
That's
who
right.
we were lucky enough to have on our show just about a month or so back. And he was just so wonderful, had a great time, came and joined with us live and everything. He's going to come back live for a Sunday show where we can get together with both Mark and you and me, and we can have a fun round table and just talk about all sorts of stuff. So all of you Australian viewers, definitely make sure you keep an eye out for that. That's a great reason to subscribe here and hit that bell notification so you can be notified when that comes up.
So is that going to be, so far, is it just me and you and him?
I believe so right now.
Oh man, if that's the case, I'm going to promote that very heavily. Oh yeah, definitely. So give me the date and all the contact info because that will be super cool. I've learned a lot from him over the years.
It's been my goal was like, you're one of the biggest supporters of my channel, and you all, like I mentioned earlier too, you're always jumping in, and and whenever I'm popping in or saying hi or something during your live streams, you're always giving me a shout out and all that sort of stuff. And that sort of support, I'm like, man, I got to find a way to get Nate and one of these other guys I can get hooked up with. And when Mark was agreed, I was like, that's got to be the one.
That's the one. Definitely.
We got to get on there and do that for sure. So definitely do that.
Super cool. Yep.
As far as, like I said, make sure that you can get notified when that comes up, or keep an eye out here on our channel as I'll be putting up promotions for that here real soon. Definitely.
Yes. Okay, good. Once we get that nailed down, I would literally put that at the end of my videos leading up to that, my regular videos, to make sure that there's plenty of support and interest.
Yeah, it's going to be great. He was such a great conversation. You're going to enjoy talking to him so much. So again, too, it's just a great opportunity for us gardeners. And this is what I want to do with these roundtables, is kind of get guests that I've had on before and kind of get us together. It's an opportunity, instead of just doing the one-on-one conversation, let's get together. Let's have some conversations. Let's ask each other questions. Let's really dig into some stuff that our viewers want to know as well, too. So this is a great opportunity for everybody, too.
And in line with that, so Teats Treats has said, I feel his information isn't very pertinent to my growing zone. And I understand that exactly, which is very true, because he's in subtropics Australia.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at his garden, you just throw stuff out there and boom, it's just growing. He's got banana leaves all over the place, eucalyptus trees. I mean, yes, very different, but you can still benefit by understanding. So hopefully the conversation will be about the state of mind, the attitude, the mentality, the state of mind, the approach, not necessarily how do you grow sweet potatoes in my zone. That's particular to your zone. But it'll be more about the energy and the philosophy. Get inside of his mind. That's what you want.
We're trying to do too, in this sort of sense of what we're doing here with my show. More so is maybe we're going to get you to meet somebody who's maybe more pertinent to your area, your zone and stuff. But if it isn't, what we also want to try to be offering is that sort of like gardening encouragement, gardening philosophies, gardening, what is the, what it is that, gets us growing and all of that too. There's so much to be learned from just that sort of thing as well too, when we're talking about and learning from other gardeners with great experience. And all of that, it's also good to know some of those growing habits of different things that grow in different places than what you have as well too, because that only just furthers our knowledge, in the long run. I mean, it's great to definitely have down what you need for your own garden where it is, but also knowing about how other zones act and how other things do too is also some really good gardening knowledge to have.
It definitely is, and that's the key right there, is that when you see people that are really crushing it with the garden, growing lots of their own food and stuff, consistently getting good produce, you want to get into their mind as far as their philosophy, the mentality, the attitude that it takes to grow your own stuff. How they stage things, how they view food in general. And you can always guarantee that they understand the importance, that what you put in the body is of utmost importance. What you put in the body determines your experience. And so you will know, they will always know that. And so That's what I feel is most important. So all across, even Tony from Simplified Gardening, or Mark, or there's other ones, or me, we're all in super different zones, but you can still benefit from the philosophy, which is most important in my mind.
Yeah. It's like, look to nature. Homestead says there's something to be learned from every gardener.
Yeah,
and that really is the ultimate philosophy of this show. Basically, is just that there's always something to learn, even if it's just learning and finding someone who's got, a good personality and really is encouraging, and is someone who, even though they're different, their garden's a little bit different than yours, maybe it's watching them and what they do that helps you move along in what you're doing in your garden. I've had that experience. I have gardeners I follow that's why I follow them. And I'm not necessarily going to be able to grow a garden like they can grow. I watch them and listen to them because they're inspiring.
Yes, it's all about inspiration. It's all comes down to inspiration. People will do what they're inspired to do.
Our gardens are different,
Totally
from where
different,
you're growing in Indiana, right?
That's right. Northern Indiana, Michigan, almost.
And I'm over here in Southern Oregon, so
very different climates. Yes,
different climates, all that sort of stuff. But I watch and I listen because there's inspirational things to hear about and to know about that just keep me going. That's the great thing about these live streams and getting to know people and new people and do all that sort of stuff. And I just love the idea, again, of being able to introduce people to. I think that's going to be a great thing about moving forward with this idea of the round table and stuff, is bringing back some guests and be able to introduce them to each other and have some fun gardening conversations that hopefully will uplift other gardeners and bring some inspiration to them through those conversations. Yes. And if we can answer some questions, we'll definitely give it a shot, for sure.
Right. Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. And it would also be good to, for my viewers, if you guys want a specific question to Mark, once this is nailed down and we're for sure going to do it and stuff, then you can let me know, and we'll keep those, we'll record those just to make sure that we can ask him questions. Definitely.
Yeah. See, like Big Will Dog says right here, right now, he's like, Nate, even with different experiences in life, you've given me ideas and motivations that help me both physically and mentally. Thank you for that, bro.
Absolutely, my friend.
And again, that's just a bigger, making that point just even bigger that we were talking about there.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
There's a lot we can get from each other and all of that too. Let's see here.
That's right. And the people that are all about growing things. I mean, they have a different heart. I mean, they have a different kind of energy. They're about nurturing. They're about seeing things grow, seeing things thrive and succeed. Yeah. All of these kind of things. It's all good natured. So that's one thing I love about that community.
Exactly. It's the best thing about the community, and most everybody, and again too, it's why we have so many great people. And I still, every time, I've got a list of people I love to have on the show that's like a mile long, because there's so many awesome gardeners out there doing stuff. But every time it's like people are just so nice and so great and so wanting to share and be a part of things. I mean, I could probably eventually do this show almost 5 days a week or something, just because there's so many great conversations to have out there with so many awesome people in this community. So that's just really, really brings a lot of value.
Yep, it really does.
Okay, let's grab a question or two. There's been a few that have been hanging on here. I want to try to see if we can't. One that was just from a while back ago.
I wanted to answer one real quick if I could.
Absolutely.
Someone asked about these someone asked about the green apple cucumbers. Gosh, I was just drawing a complete blank.
The green apple.
The green apple cucumbers.
Right here.
Okay, yeah. So what are some ways to deal with? So the green apple cucumbers. Okay, so I grew them several years in the past. Now they're my favorite fresh eating cucumber. We eat them for fresh, pretty much fresh, but we juice them. So if you guys aren't into juicing, you want to get into the juicing train. Super good. And they provide one of the best juices. Nice and flavorful, a little bit sweet. You want to get it at the right time. But they are mega prolific. I could not believe how prolific the green apple cucumbers were this year. I mean, they produced to a point where I just couldn't keep up with them. And so unfortunately, they're a thing that you can't save them. You can't dehydrate them really. I mean, you just have to eat them fresh, juice them, or freeze them.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you can juice it. The juice is really good, really high in electrolytes, or really flavorful, really good thing to be, very hydrating. So that's what I do. If you guys aren't already juicing, you got to get on that juicing
Gotta
train.
get on juicing, man. I'm telling you. And cucumbers, oh, so good. I love
Oh
them.
yeah,
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
Delicious. Let's see. Let's go right here. Dave asked a little bit earlier question. I'm currently ordered garlic bulbs for planting in the fall. Any advice for varieties that would do well in Colorado? Can get November, December temperatures can go from high 80s to low 20s.
Yeah.
Warm days, are okay. For me, I think in garlic, I've got like this really great German hardneck,
Oh yeah.
and music does really well. I know that one as well is a great one too.
Mhm.
As long as you just get them, I don't know. I think for Colorado even, or most anywhere from I've heard from other people as well, is that garlics is just one of those great, stick it in the ground and forget it. And just let it go, and don't worry about it if it starts popping up a little bit too on your warmer days in the winter, because they'll do that. They'll try to grow when it gets a little warmer, and then they'll get back and they'll go back and I guess hibernate or whatever when it gets a little bit colder. But I've just never had a problem, no matter the fluctuations in my winters. I've always seemed to get pretty much the same thing, and we've had some really fluctuating winters here in Southern Oregon over the last several years, and so I'm just continue to say that garlic's just great to grow anywhere. Music is one of my favorite varieties, and should do just fine almost anywhere. Plant it and forget it.
Yeah, definitely. Music I've not been able to grow before because I put it in the sunken bed. I don't know if my viewers that heard my
about that in the last
I put it in the sunken bed, and we got a flood basically this spring. So the music died. But one that I can really recommend is the Italy Hill Giant. The Italy Hill is super potent. So I've got the German white, I've got the Italy Hill, we've got the Basque, we've got the Killarney, we've got the Korean Red. Because you guys have sent me all these things last year. So we grew. Look at all this garlic. So we're here. We're putting, and these are ones that we're replanting. So I'm getting it, together. So here is, this is like 5 pounds. This is like $100 worth of seed garlic right here, Italy Hill for planting. And so my favorite is going to be the Italy Hill because it's so potent, and it has the cloves are nice and big, and they're easy to peel. That's very important for me. I don't like messing around like the Korean Red and the Killarney. They have tiny little cloves, and they're hard to peel, and they're just small. You want them big cloves that are easy to peel and pungent.
Yeah, definitely. And is that a hardneck?
Yes, I only grow hardnecks. Now, I saw here the Wickshire Project said soft neck garlics store better by far and is much more mild in flavor versus hardneck. Now, I wouldn't say they store better by far. That depends on a lot of things, primarily how high the sulfuric compounds were when in the soil that they grew in, and at what time you harvested. If you wait too long, they won't store as long. But for me, I only grow hardnecks because I want that scape. That scape is as important as the garlic to me, because I'm eating them scapes all summer long. So what you want, if you have a couple of different varieties, if you have if you have the Italy Hill Giant, the German White, and then we'll say what was the other one? Asian Tempest. So if you have these 3 varieties, then you will get scapes at different times. Some of them, they put out scapes at different times. So you'll have like 5 weeks during the summer where you're eating fresh garlic scapes, which is amazing. That's like my favorite part of the whole thing.
Delicious. Get them young. Get them young and tender. Don't let them go too long.
Once they get old, they get bitter and tough and stringy.
They're so good. Yeah, definitely. Let's see here. Regina was saying we can get down to minus 20s in winter days, weeks, and our hardnecks always survive. Yeah. They'll take massively cold temperatures.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Meyer Lemon says, love the scape delicacy. Oh, yeah, super good. Let's see here. The big will dog. That's funny. Somebody just wants to say hi for a moment. Let's see here.
Hey, how
Yes,
about that? Right on. Nice.
Say hi to
Who do we
Tegan.
got here?
This is Tegan.
Hi,
We're about to go
Tegan.
hunt some snakes.
Oh,
Is that
awesome.
right?
Mom didn't bring the cage.
She didn't bring the cage. Oh, well, we're just going to have to hold him in our hands, aren't we? Yeah.
There
Yeah,
you
she's not
go.
afraid at all. When we go and hunt the snakes, hands right in there, right?
Oh man, that's awesome. That's just like my daughter. She wasn't afraid of the bugs or snakes.
Put it on my backpack.
You did what?
Mom said I should put a sticker that you have.
Ooh, yes. Yeah, okay. She said she needs to put the Garden Like a Viking sticker on her backpack, and I think that's
Yes.
a great idea. In
That is
fact,
a good
you should
idea.
put it on your folder for school.
Yep, yep.
Everything. Yes.
That's right. Put it on everything.
Yes.
Slap some around the school too. There-
That's right. Yeah. Everywhere you go, just slap one on the teacher's cars and everything like that.
Put
Yeah.
them on your
exactly.
on your light poles.
Yes.
everything.
On the windows of school. I like it. You get the right idea.
I love it. I love it. So great.
Mom, so school looks like that.
Yes. Yes, we will do that. Okay. Just wanted you to say hi.
Excellent. Excellent. That is so wonderful.
That's right. Jay says Tegan the snake hunter.
Yep. Yep. Tegan the snake hunter. That's awesome. So
Big Real
great.
Dog, yes, snakes again, because we only keep these snakes for a few weeks. You know, they're not like pythons and stuff that are tropical. So we just catch garter snakes and then keep them for a few weeks or a month and then let it go again.
Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
But it's fun. I mean, and especially again, if you've got kids, that's you got to let these kids have fun with that and do that stuff and
Oh,
just
absolutely.
get that experience and learn about this sort of stuff. It's just another great thing that the garden can do is bring us that closer to nature, and and there's all those things, especially for people who get snakes rolling around everywhere.
Oh, definitely. And if the youngster has an inclination for that kind of thing outdoors, you need to fan that flame. You need to take that spark and really encourage that, because that's what it's all about, and increasingly rare in this society. And so if they have that, you should, in my opinion, do everything you can to support that.
Yeah. I think that's one of the better things of these last couple of generations, anyways, is that more of that. Let's bring the kids into this stuff, let's teach them about these things. Let's really encourage that fascination that they have of things, or even help them, litigate some fears, and help them out with that sort of stuff so that they can learn to be more comfortable.
Exactly. Like some people have irrational fears of crawdads.
Yeah.
And you have to help them get over that by having them catch them, going out and catching them and having them touch them in their hands. See, there's nothing to fear.
Yeah. Spiders.
Right? Oh, whoa.
My daughter-
Whoa. Spiders are for real, though. So
That
spiders
was a
are,
big one for me and my daughter was spiders, was all of that, because she,
Yeah.
like most girls are like, or anyone's boys even too, mind you, but she was like, no, spiders early on, and then I was like, oh no, look, they do this, they do that, and spiders are one of her favorite things nowadays.
right. Yeah. I used to not have, not really like a fear, but like in northern Indiana, we don't really have poisonous spiders. There's like the brown recluse, but it's very, very rare. So all these spiders are like wolf spiders and stuff, no big deal. But in California and when I was living in Thailand and in India, there's very, very deadly spiders. There's black widows everywhere and scorpions everywhere in
All over my
California.
place here.
Oh man, yeah. So it's the fear is
The
real.
great thing about widows and those sort of things, maybe not some of the other like the brown recluse, because they'll move around a bit more, but like widows for sure, like they just got a little dark spot somewhere they just want, and they come out and do their thing when they do their thing, and I just never really bother them. I just like to know where they are. As long as I know where they are.
Where they are.
It's like, okay,
exactly.
you just do your thing over there and I'll do mine over here and all that.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
I haven't
We
really
gotta
had
come
to
to
worry
an
about
understanding.
eradicating or moving them too much. But
Right. I saw a comment by Big Wheel Dog. So it says, Nate, you feel like hooking a poor brother up with some garlic. Now, I do. Now, obviously, I can't do this for everybody, but I because I've been to your house and stuff, so I could send you one or two possibly. But I'm gonna send you. But your end of the deal is I'm gonna send you like 5 of these stickers, and you got to put them somewhere very public. Okay, I mean, like you got to put it on your actual vehicle. Okay, and you got to like be loud and proud about it. All of them. if I send you the
I
garlic.
wish I would have got some of those for you
Okay.
before I headed down to Southern California here. Going to the National Heirloom Exposition here this week down in Southern California. The
You
Baker
went or you're going?
heading out after tomorrow's show, heading down to Southern
nice.
California for that.
Nice.
If I had some of those stickers, I'd be slapping them all over the place.
That's right, slapping them all over. Yep, it's okay. It's sometime in the not too far future we'll be getting invited to stuff like that. I have no doubt.
Yeah, definitely. So. I've got something. Hopefully, I got in the works too. So that might definitely be the case. I'm not going to talk too much about it right now.
Right? Yeah.
But yeah, I'm working on something, and hopefully that'll be something we can look forward to.
Hey, I want to give a shout out. Shooting the Soil is in the chat, and he's another YouTube brother. He's got a wonderful channel where he looks at, he examines things under a microscope. We're going to be doing a collaboration when I get to it, when the time is right, about, you know, an introductory, like, here's what, when you look under the microscope, here's what you're looking at. You know, he does a real good job. He's got a lot of knowledge about that kind of thing. So you guys can check out his channel. Yeah, shooting with a camera, the soil. And so if you're into that kind of thing, like the real sciencey kind of you know, microbiology and examining it, that's the channel.
Ooh, perfect. We'll have to get him on the show here for sure too then.
Yeah, get him on the show, definitely.
Absolutely. I love it. I love getting people, and again too, this is again part of the connection, learning about new channels, new people doing things, and all that stuff. That is exactly what we're doing here. So definitely love to get Shooting the Soil on your recommendation for sure onto the show. That would be great.
Yep, he says I'd be down. Yep, I know he would. He's all about it.
Perfect.
So
perfect.
it's good.
We'll definitely get into. I'll get a hold of you for sure. Awesome. You know, we are running down here. I mean, I could talk to you all day long, but I did want to touch on one thing real quick.
Okay.
Because this was what you were talking about. Again, the conversations always go great. Got such a great audience here keeping our conversation.
So easy talking with you guys.
I did want to talk about your most recent video real quick that you were talking about. You know, you're going to tear out your whole garden.
That's right.
You're gonna get started doing all this sort of stuff, man. I just want to kind of dig in a little bit on that and talk about what it was that brought that about, that whole idea. And if anybody wants to know too, definitely get down in the link. There's a link to Viking, Garden Like a Viking. I know most of you are Vikings already, but if you're not, definitely go down there and check out his channel, and you can check out that recent video as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of like I was talking about in the beginning, how when I came back from the mountains and I had $0, but yet I had this place that I could stay, and so it was all about, you know, making do, growing food with as close to zero input as possible. But that's not the best ways. JDOM is wonderful. It's virtually free, but that's its shining factor, the whole JDOM system and all of that. But now, does it grow the highest quality produce that is possible? No, it does not. And for that, there are better techniques. They cost a bit of money though, and they cost a bit of work. And so now is just the time. Instead of, and you guys that do construction work, do projects and stuff, you know that a lot of times, most of the time, it's better to just rip it all out and start fresh than try and nurse along, you know, and try and work around with what you've already got and try and incorporate. You can waste so much time and stuff trying to do all that instead of just wiping the slate clean, starting fresh. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to take everything out. We're going to till this soil big time, incorporate all this stuff, because after 5 years now of doing the composting in place and the manures and stuff, we've got different fertilities in all the beds. And there's like pockets of super rich fertility and then pockets of like just Indiana clay. You know, so we're going to till all this together. We're going to remove all the wood and till it all in. And then we're going to build raised beds. Just 2x12s is what we're going to use. So it's going to be resilient. It's going to be able to take heavy rains and drain real easy, but also it's going to allow the roots to grow in such a way that we can use drip lines for when it's 8 or 10 weeks without rain. We can just use the drip lines. So it's going to be very resilient. And we're going to put the beds in a methodical order. There's going to be 6 on each side, and then there's going to be 5 in the back. And those are all going to run in various directions. And the ones in the back will have the trellis, which we're going to use cattle panel trellis. So there's going to be videos about all that, how to make the beds, then a separate video, how to make the permanent trellis, a video why I'm putting the beds in the orientation based upon north-south, videos on all that stuff. So it's all about growing the highest quality stuff possible.
Yeah. So again, too, a great reason to jump in and check all that out again, to watch and to see this whole process. There ain't nothing like being able to show someone right from the beginning
That's right.
through the
People
process
love the whole
and where the
process.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, and to get into doing that. I'm hoping to be able to get to do something very similar for myself as we're going to be digging in and opening up our front yard.
Mhm.
So the place I got small space. I got a little cement back patio and everything in the back. I've got, like I said, a little small in-ground space. We're growing along the alleyways. I've put, things on buckets on the rooftop, all that sort of stuff. But my dream has been to get out into this front yard and put out some garden beds and
That's
just
right.
turn it all into, growing food and everything. And we'll hopefully be able to get doing that too for this next season and be able to take everybody along with that sort of process as well,
Yes.
right from the
Yes.
beginning.
Take them along. They love that.
In and do all that sort of stuff, man. I'm really looking forward to being able to do that here. But it's
Yes.
gonna be great to be able to follow along with what you've got going on too. We did have one little question I think I saw. I'm not sure myself here because I don't really
I hope
use
I hope
but
it's the question I'm looking at right now too. I was going to
the
answer
Look
that.
to Nature Homestead.
Yep,
Hey,
exactly. I
guys.
wanted to make sure that got answered. Yes. So the
Guano
guano bloom.
bloom serum replaced the use of phosphorus.
Yes. So he is talking about the video that I made about using seabird guano and bat guano and earthworm castings to make the bloom fertilizer. So yes, that really has. Now, if you're using, it depends what you're growing. It depends. If you're growing like indoor plants in a particular way, then cow phos, you might need that chemical if you've been using chemicals. But if you're using the natural system, living soils, then yes, that bloom serum is going to have pretty much everything that you need, especially if you're using it in combination with aerated compost teas from my channel, my recipes. Then the bloom serum with the aerated teas, that's all that you need, period.
Mm-hmm.
So yes.
Perfect.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right,
Thanks,
guys.
Keith Treats there. Great podcast. Thanks for wrapping.
Yeah, it's been fun.
So great. Thank you so much. And just again, another wonderful conversation, Nate. I always love getting together with you. And again, to
pleasure.
everybody, look forward to we'll get everything out as soon as possible and start promoting it with everybody. But we'll have Nate back here real soon with Mark Valencia from Self-Sufficient Me, and have a great another conversation too here as well as we continue to grow our community through gardening. And again, Nate, man, it's just really awesome. Thanks so much.
Nice.
It's been a wonderful day hanging out.
Always a
with
pleasure,
you.
my friend.
You got it. And we'll
Definitely.
see you again soon.
See you guys
man.
next time. Thanks, everybody in the chat. We'll see you guys next time.
You got it. Excellent. All right. Again, awesome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining with us today, especially all you Vikings coming over from Garden Like a Viking. I mean, just so great to see all of you here. Thanks for jumping in the chat and talking with us and helping us keep the conversation going with all of your really, really awesome questions. I hope we got to most of them that we could. Again, try to get through this as best I can. It is probably one of the bigger challenges of doing and hosting this whole show, especially on days like this when we get so many great viewers here with us today, is trying to keep up with the conversation while you're actually having a conversation with somebody else too. But you guys are also wonderful. So again, thank you so much for being here and doing and jumping into the chat and all of that sort of stuff. It's just really great to have these sort of conversations. And again, I want to mention to everybody too that got a lot of things coming up and growing on here with the Let's Get Growing show. We've got lots and lots of great guests coming up here in the coming weeks. We'll be putting out more and more of those as we start to get those solidified. First and foremost, though, too, is that tomorrow is our Sunday edition of the show, because we are here both Saturday and Sundays, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and all those hours in between. But our Sunday edition of the show tomorrow is the second Sunday of the month, where we have Master Gardener Scott Wilson, joining with us from the Gardener Scott channel to answer all of your gardening questions. So if there were some questions you had today that you didn't get answered, definitely bring those questions tomorrow. In fact, what I'm going to do is I've made a note about the raspberries, and talking about raspberries, we're going to dig into some raspberries with Gardener Scott tomorrow, because I want some of those questions answered too, because I think it's a great idea. I'm going to look to maybe get some raspberries in some containers again for next season in my garden. So definitely come and join with us for that. And let's see here. Awesome. Excellent, everybody. Rick, thank you so much here for joining with us. Big West Lawn Care, thank you. Yes, like button, love. Hit that like button, click the thumbs up for sure. We'd definitely like to see that. And Meyer Lemon says, we appreciate you too, Jay, and the Urban Tribe too. The Urban Gardener Tribe. I kind of like that there too. And we always definitely appreciate Jay for all that she does, and taking care of our live stream and facilitating our chat. Just again, if you're following along, all those great links and everything too as well to all the sort of stuff that we're talking about. Again, also want to mention too, next Saturday show, we won't be here on Saturday because, as I mentioned earlier in our conversation there just a few minutes ago with Nate, I will be traveling this week. I'm headed off to Southern California to Ventura County Fairgrounds for the 10th, 11th, and 12th for the National Heirloom Exposition. So what we're going to do is I'm going to be there. I'm going to be gathering some interviews and talking with some people, and I might possibly be doing some just different short live streams throughout the days on the 10th, 11th, and 12th right here on the channel. I might be just popping up whenever. So that's something you could keep an eye out on. It's a good reason to maybe hit that bell notification like I mentioned before, because that way you'll be notified when we're hitting live or something if you want to catch up with that, to get some live experience from the National Heirloom Exposition. But for the most part, I'm going to gather some interviews. We'll get some clips and all that sort of stuff, and then we'll get together on let's make sure I've got this right. Yeah. On Wednesday, September 18th at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and that's going to be 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and this will be a Wednesday evening show for us, and it'll just be a special edition of the Let's Get Growing show, as we'll kind of do a review and a look at the National Heirloom Exposition and all the great things going on there. It's just one of my favorite things to do. I love going to this exposition every single year, so it's gonna be fun to catch up with everybody down there. And if you are in Southern California, make your way over there. Maybe you can come and meet me and say hi. I'll be wandering around. You'll know me. I'll have my hats on. You'll be able to recognize me. So if you are down there during the National Heirloom Exposition, definitely make sure to stop by and say hi to me. Feel free too. I love it when everybody says hi, which has been really fun over the last couple of ones I've gone to too, is having people recognize me and say hi. It's just been so awesome. So definitely do that. And then we will be back on for our regular schedule for the next week after that. And for the next week, or that Sunday, next Sunday. Let me get this clear. So not next Saturday, as we'll be doing and moving that one to the Wednesday evening special, but we will be back for Sunday next week. Next week's Sunday show is the third Sunday of the month. And on the third Sunday of the month, we get together with my good friend, Mark Lachey Colbert, and he helps co-host our monthly gardening book club. And this is going to be a really fun one this coming week as well, too, as we are featuring All the President's Gardens by Marta McDowell. This is just been a fun trip into history. I mentioned this earlier in the show as we got started. This book really just takes us all the way back to some of the first ideas that George Washington was having about the new capital city and basically the new White House that he never got to live in, mind you. But he had all these ideas. He was a huge, and this was one of the biggest fun things that I talked about this earlier too, is that he was a huge garden nerd. And so it's just been fascinating to read about all of this and getting into all of those really cool gardens over the White House years and all that sort of stuff. So that'll be a fun conversation with Marta McDowell next Sunday for our gardening book club as well too. So you won't want to miss out with that. And then again, like I said, we'll be back on regular schedule Saturday and Sundays. The week after that, we're going to have a special beekeeping weekend. So Saturday and Sunday show is going to be all about beekeeping. We're going to talk to some really great beekeepers from YouTube and Instagram. And I've got a cool local feature I'm going to show everybody on our Sunday show. So we're going to have a real fun with all of that too. So you'll definitely want to keep following along with us to catch up with all of that too when it comes time. So definitely, like I said, click that like button, hit the subscribe button and the bell notification to be notified of all of those, and share with all of your garden friends and let them know about our show. And then again, too, I want to mention to everybody, one last thing is, if you get a chance, and there's a link right down below, links to Garden Like a Viking if you haven't been over there yet, but also a link to our urban gardener community, the Let's Get Growing group. And this is a great group, and this is a fun place for all of us to be able to share our garden experiences with each other, and you especially to be able to share your gardens with me. I love to see all of your pictures and all of the things that you've got growing on, and the gardening group is a great place to be able to do that. Even barring the ideas of what I mentioned earlier about what I'm going to talk about here in the coming weeks as well too, is I'm going to put out, maybe have a discussion about gardening groups in particular. And there's just, gardening groups are a great place. It's a great place for us as a community to grow, connect, and learn from other gardeners in a certain sense. But again, too, as I mentioned, I am no longer recommending going there and asking questions of gardeners and trying to learn things if you're a new gardener. So we'll be talking a lot about that. But I still recommend groups and gardening groups and connecting with people, because the gardening community really is one of the great communities out there. I really enjoy all of the friendships and all of the people I've gotten to meet, all the viewers and people who come and check out our show and all of that sort of stuff as well, too. And it's just a really great place for us all to be able to kind of have a place to gather outside of the show. So definitely go check that out. And again, to follow all of our descriptions down below to all of those links and everything. And man, another really just amazing, great show today. And I want to thank all of you again for taking your time out of your weekend to come and be here with all of us and to hang out and just what do you say? Okay, and to be able to check in with all of us and what we're doing and growing here. So anyways, so we've got to get going, and I want to hopefully see all of you tomorrow. Again, we'll be right back here, same time, right here, Sunday morning, 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2 p.m. Eastern time with Gardener Scott. Bring your garden questions, and we'll see all of you tomorrow.